Well, hello, and welcome back to Black Hammer Artisan. In today's video, we're going to be forging a stake anvil. Stake anvils are basically a small portable anvil with a stake on the bottom. The idea is so that you can drill a hole into a stump or something like that and pound it in. They're very useful for blacksmiths that are wanting to forge on the go. Historically, there were traveling blacksmiths that would use them a lot of the time. And as they passed villages or stuff, they would make knickknacks or whatever it was that the village needed. As per usual, we're going to be forging this without any power tools at all or any modern tools whatsoever, so we can take it on our own adventures out in the wild, forging whatever we need out there. And to do this, we're going to be using a stupidly massive hammer. All right, so the piece we're going to be working with here is this. It's actually a piece of 1.5-inch torsion bar off a truck. Got it out of a scrapyard. And it's just a little bit over 7.5 pounds. I'm expecting to lose probably about a ½ pound in scale during this project. It'll probably be 7 pounds or just over, which is about where I want it when I'm done. You can see I've got a little spot marked off here. That's going to wind up being the stake portion of the anvil. And Justin is actually going to be helping me to make this project. We're going to be doing some striking, team striking, because if you've ever seen a stake anvil before, they don't look very much like this bar. So a lot of transformation's got to go on. All right, so got it in the forge, and you know the drill. We're going to be heating it up. So the first thing I'm doing here, trying to square this up and bring it down until it can fit in the hardy hole, so that I can start upsetting the top portion of it. Both hands down pressure. Oh yeah. He looks a little better. It does. All right, I'm gonna switch to hand hammer. A lot less control than the 20-pound hammer. By the way, for people who are wondering, this is a 20-pound hammer. So this here, 6-pound hammer, this 20-pound. All right, so you can see in just two heats, we've made quite a bit of progress. The end is small enough that it's nearly fitting in there. It's a little bit skinnier this way than it is this way. It's kind of gone a little bit rhombus, which is one thing when you use a big, like this, 20-pound sledgehammer, you sacrifice a lot of control for a lot of power. Next heat, I'm going to use a 6-pound hand hammer here, and just get this, a little bit more of the shape that I want it to where it should be fitting right up to here-ish, down in the hardy hole. And this is going to become the stake, obviously, the kind of the spike on our stake anvil, and this is going to become the face. All right, so here's where we're at. You can see we've thinned it down considerably. That's where it's at. Picking it up tomorrow, I'm going to bring that up to here, where it's down in the hardy hole, and then we'll start the upsetting process up here.
Alright guys, it's day 2. I'm just gonna keep on doing what? Wait, what?
That was weird. Anyway, we're just gonna keep on thinning out the steak on the anvil there just a little bit till it fits, and then we'll get on to upsetting the whole thing. Wait, I don't need to do this. If you've been watching the channel for a little while, you may recognize my little brother Jed here. As you can see, we're making good use of child labor. He's gonna be pumping the bellows for me today. You just want to make sure you as soon as you start lifting one up, you got to make sure the other one's going down. Just keep it like that. Alrighty, let me take a look at this. Here. That's a pretty good heat. You know, in medieval times, it's pretty common for a blacksmith to have 1 to even as many as 6 apprentices, and typically when you first became an apprentice, this was your job, pumping the bellows.
The bellows boy.
Yep. And this time I'm going to try and get the shoulder seated.
Take a small rest. What are you doing?
I'm making a shoulder so that, well, let me straighten it out first. When I do this and start to upset it, it creates a very stark and even line. Trick here will be to make sure it doesn't get caught in the hardy hole, because that would not be fun. Now we're about to see if it is. Good, good. We're looking really good there.
Is that part that you're hammering on this part?
What?
Is that part on the anvil that you're making this part on the anvil?
No. So this anvil is a steak anvil. So it's going to be, imagine if this was the stump we're putting it in, we would drill a hole right there. Then we would stick the steak down in that hole and pound it down in so it would be steady. So we don't have to, like this one, you see, we've had to bolt it down. This one we won't have to deal with that, which makes it easily portable.
So it's like a traveling anvil?
Yeah, basically. Alrighty, so as you can see here, we've got this fit real nicely down in the hardy hole. So what we're going to be doing next is heating up the top section of this thing. And I'm just going to be taking this big old 20-pound sledgehammer and upsetting it down to make it shorter and fatter. I've also got some blocks here that I'm going to be standing on because when you're striking down like this, you want to be basically where your belt buckle is on a level with, or just maybe a little bit above the thing that you're striking on. All right, bellows boy. Definitely hoping this heat goes as planned. This one's gonna be a big deal.
You did it.
All right. we're good.
Big hammer. Anvil on the end of the stick. I feel like hitting that.
All right, switch to this bend. Doing good. Thanks. Yeah. It's a chunky.
Nice heat. That hammer is just so big.
I'm forging an anvil, so what do? Well, of course, get a hammer that's bigger than the anvil.
Behold, your king, Arthur.
Tell you, a 20-pounder doesn't get any lighter. switch positions here. Good, that was pretty good. So as you can see, we just cut off a decent portion of the steak. It will be longer than it is when we're finished. But the other reason why I did it is because I didn't anticipate it getting quite as long as it did, but it got so long it was hitting the foot of the anvil. So obviously needed to get short. Nice to work on a nice small piece again. All right, that's good for this heat. Ernie got hit again. By the way, I just gave my anvil an impromptu name. Ernie.
Not very evil.
I'm not sure why I called him that, but he is kind of fat. Ernest? Isn't it a German name? So we got a slightly unlevel bottom. This side's just a little bit longer than the other, sort of. So I'm taking this down just a little bit with the rasp, and probably be more efficient to do this hot. But the idea is that, you know, it'll hopefully straighten the entire thing if the bottom is flat. Right, so the bottom is flat and the top is flat, obviously they're both horizontal. However, the middle is kind of skewed, so the top is not in line with the bottom, if that makes sense. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. So the problem is we can correct that, you know, by pushing the top over, but you can see like when I push it over, it lifts this side up, if that makes sense. And so then when we go to smash it back down, obviously bottom wants to lay back down flat. And so that kind of makes it counterproductive. So I'm trying to file down the side that is not lifting up when we correct it, so that hopefully it'll straighten itself out when we go to do good things. Mostly pretty good. So if you're unfamiliar with what this is flatting, where you take a flat surface and you pound it down. Ideally you would have a flatter, which maybe we can throw up a picture right here of what that looks like. I don't have one, so we're using this thing. I think we're gonna use that a little bit more. Do a little more swinging. All right, so if you're unfamiliar with this next process, it's called annealing. And basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna heat it up to a nice cherry red, or just above. And then I'm going to let it sit in there until it naturally cools itself. I'm just gonna let it sit in the forge overnight. It kind of relaxes the metal and lets all those stresses work themselves out so that they don't become a problem when you quench it. So we let it anneal overnight. It's nice and soft now, so it's ready to quench. If you have watched very many of my videos, you're probably familiar with this next step. I'm gonna warm up the oil by sticking a hot bar of steel, which I'm currently warming up right now, in there, and then it'll be time to quench. We're just using some canola oil here. Canola oil is it's very basic, it's very simple, and it always works. I've tried using a few other oils, and some work, some don't. Some better than others, but canola oil is just reliable and good. Probably about the only thing, in my opinion, better than that would be actual quenching oil, which is sold in some blacksmithing stores, but in my opinion, there's not really any need for that. Canola oil works just fine, and it's very cheap, so yeah. All right, I'm seeing good temper colors here. So what's going on is I have quenched about that much, maybe 3/4 of an inch on the top of this thing, but the bottom of this is still, you know, fairly warm. So what I want to see happen is the heat from here bleed back up to here and temper the top. And I'm seeing that, so that's looking good. Pretty soon here, I'm going to want to arrest this temper, just so it doesn't get too soft. I'm gonna let it be for just a second here though. Just to make sure there's no residual heat left in that. And honestly, with a block this big, I might have been able to get away with doing it in water to begin with, but oil was safer. We're getting there. Still kind of warm to the touch. All right, we're gonna go brush it now at the vise, just for aesthetic reasons, really. All right, and then the other thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to just file the top. I already did that before, but I'm just gonna, make sure I take any surface scale that formed during the quench or that heat off so that it's nice and clean. Alrighty, so I've got the top nice and done here, and now what I'm gonna do is dress down the corners. And no, I am not about to slap a pair of pants on this little anvil. It means I'm going to take my my vise and just soften the corners just a little bit so they're not quite so sharp, because there's actually almost like a little bit of a burr on them right now, just from the filing action. It's funny how these files wear. The bottom part of this file's almost never been used, so it's really sharp, while out here in the middle, really worn out. And you may have noticed something different about the shop. Well, the soon-to-be shop, and that is this huge vise. So if you are curious about the size of this vise, this is the biggest vise I've actually ever seen in person or even online. think the biggest one I've ever seen online was about an 8-inch vise. This is a 9-inch vise. It's about 200 pounds. It's American made. I believe it's over 150 years old, and came out of an old railhead shop where they used to forge stuff for railroads very long time ago. Like, take a look at it. It is awesome. It's like huge, and you can just wail on this thing with a sledgehammer and it's not going to blink. As you can see, I can open it with one finger very easily. I actually had to do a little bit of repair work on this vise, because when I got it, the guy that sold it to me sold me this screw with it, but this is not the original screw. The original screw is this right here, and it was just really, really stripped out. So yeah, I had to stick that screw in it, but it didn't actually fit, so I had to do some creative stuff to warble out the inside a little bit so that it would fit. And then I made a new spring for it, and I also made this mount for it because it didn't come with a mount, and also made a footing for it, and then just installed it while we were actually making this video. So yeah. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section what you think we should name it, because I think it deserves a name. It's huge. It's kind of a historic piece. All right, so the spike anvil is completed, and now all it's left to do is to show you how to use it. Alrighty, so in reality, when you're actually using a stump anvil, you'll usually either find a stump or cut down a tree so you have a stump to work with. You know, when you're actually traveling, this is made for traveling use. And generally speaking, you will not want it to actually be at this height. This is only a demonstration piece here. Normally, you're gonna want it to be kind of low so you can do it while you're on your knees, or you're gonna want it up high so you can do it while you're standing up. This makes you have to bend over, but for demonstration purposes, this is what we're using. I'm going to take this auger, I'm going to drill it, and then I'm going to force the square stake here down into this round hole. And you can see this auger is just a little bit smaller than the stake is. And that's because you want it to kind of punch out and widen the hole so it fits really tightly. And then I don't actually want to, put it in with this thing all the way. I mean, giving it a little tap's not gonna hurt it, but I really don't want to mark up my face on the anvil too bad. So I'm gonna take a piece of wood, put it on top, and use that to drive it in. It's just a good idea to kind of extend the life of your anvil, hopefully. Well, I'll be darned, that is the ugliest leaf I've ever made. But that doesn't matter because this anvil works. All right, so I've just made one very, very ugly leaf on here to demonstrate the fact that it is in fact usable. And yeah, so I think you can look forward to seeing this in some future adventuring videos. That'll be a lot of fun. Somewhat of an experimental project. I've never made one before. It turned out pretty well. Definitely one thing I will recommend is either make it out of a larger stock than I did. That would be a good idea. Or if you don't have a larger stock, make sure you straighten it out sooner, because this obviously was spent a lot of time trying to straighten it up, and it still didn't wind up perfect, but it'll be pretty good and usable. This video did take us about 2 weeks to make, just because we're always fitting it in around everything else we're doing in our lives. We're pretty busy. So if you would like to support us and make it so we can spend more time on this sort of thing, I'd really appreciate it if you head over to Patreon. We have a pretty nice extended cut of this video you're watching right here over there, as well as early releases and some other stuff. And I just want to say a huge thank you to all of our people who have already signed up. It makes a really, really big difference. I hope you learned something from this. And like I always say, farewell wherever you fare.